Okay, so then let's start. Hi everyone again, because it's being recorded now. I would like to introduce Eko Saputra. He's going to talk today about HeritageX, where material culture meets technology and artistic practice. He will present two of his projects, and after his presentation, we would have the questions, open session for questions, so please hold your comments and questions for the end. Eko Saputra is an interdisciplinary artist and researcher, originally from Batang Buo, West Sumatra, Indonesia, and currently based in Venice, Italy, where he leads his own studio, Studio Engi, and is currently pursuing his PhD in History and Heritage Studies at the University of Teramo. Drawing from his main curatorial and museum experience with the Venice Biennale of Art and Architecture, Peggy Guggenheim Collection, and the European Route of Ceramics, Council of Europe, Eko works at the intersection of art and technology. His practice spans various media, including visual arts, installation, and new media, with an interest on cultural heritage, diasporic experiences, and place attachment. Eko's research explores how heritage practices and technology can reinterpret cultural narratives and inspire new forms of artistic engagement and contemporary imagination, and with this research focuses on the implementation of ICT for preserving ceramics heritage. So then, Nico, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, especially for the invitations to come here and to share my own work and my own practice also. So yeah, the presentation it's called HeritageX, where material cultures meet technology and artistic practice. Where for the main presentation, I show two images. Actually, on the right side is actually the current project that I do with for PhD. It's about my LICA ceramics, and then the left side it's my own also like my own project. Also, it's a postcard, actually a historical postcard from Portugal. A little bit of me. Yeah, little bit of me. My background, I studied different things like in my academic journey. I did my bachelor's in informatics, and then I work in fashion quite a long time. Then I pursue my master's in fashion. And then after that, I work like in curatorial part for the Venice Biennale and art and architectures. And then COVID happened and I decided to produce my own work, of course, like reflecting also like based on my experience and what I've seen like during the work as well. So practically this is all what not everything, but like this is kind of like a summary of what I've done. Like I did work, for example, like exhibition for the Biennale Architectures last year, and also with Ars Electronica. I work not only in the digital. I started when I started my journey. I totally work in the digital art, but then I realized there's something missing about it because I work in fashion before, and then when I pursue my PhD in cultural heritage, I realized it was like this is something that I crave also like about craftsmanship and stuff. So I started slowly engaging like with that practice also. So for example, like some artworks that I engage with science and technology, and then with the origami, like flowers and stuff that I try to do. And I also when COVID happened and it was a very boom like about meta space and NFTs, and I made like a collections and I sold it also like from that one. It's still happening until now. And then working like a different purposes also, like sometimes it was like depend on the open calls of the Biennale and some exhibitions that I do, and then I try to tell about my own story and some stuff. Mainly yeah, like I work also now like different mediums like digital, physicals, like for example sketches, also paintings. Also I try to explore like in that area, working with artificial intelligence. Also for example like that historical postcard, and then try to reimagine again with artificial intelligence. And then the green one, it's totally current work. Like I just complete my residencies in Linz with Ars Electronica. So this one it's clay base, and combining with the soundscape experience. So it's like that. So in these presentations, I just focus like on two projects, like one of, because also like I'm doing also like academic research, and then like practicals also like into it. It's called CerCAST. It's a ceramics route of Castelli, which is also like a thematic cultural route specific to very small towns like in the centers of Italy. It's called Castelli. And then the second one, it was LICA. It's locating Indonesian Cultural Archives route. It's also based on my experience that my experience as a diaspora experience, and like I work with the museums and archive, and recently I during my residencies I focus on the colonial history from Portugal and Indonesia. It also kind of inspires me like to be a storytellers of Indonesians that being in Europe for almost 9 years. So, and for the first part of the project, I want to talk about the ceramic route of Castelli. So for everyone that might be little knowns about like what is Maiolica, is in Italy was very famous with the Maiolica productions, and also with the Castelli also. And this is like just a little glimpse like how it was produced, where you can see it was like from a clay, and then it was foam, and then it's using like a thin glaze, and then it was firing, and then it was like the process itself, like it's very intense, and also like very artistically, like that's why Maiolica is become also like a fine art, or like in the umbrella of a fine art like these days. At the beginning, like Maiolica was not very intense, like to consider as a decorative art, because mainly the purpose was like, for example, like the Maiolica from Castelli was started only for the pharmacy purposes. So it's used to store medicines like herb and something like that. But then the interventions of like, okay, the workshop of the artisans, and then like how they travel like to another cities, and like, and then the demands also for the elite people like back in the days, and then it's become like utensils like for home decorations, and then also of course it's become phenomenal like as a consideration as a fine art also. And little known, Castelli was, as you see, actually located like in very centers of Italy, and then it was 4 hours from Rome. It's very small towns, and the position it was like between Gran Sasso and Monte della Lagana National Park in Abruzzo. This productions actually, thanks to the archaeological sites excavations like in 1980s, that they found like a huge amount of ceramics is in one of the workshop family in Castelli. They found like all the evidence and like historical evidence like for the ceramics. So that's how it's become like people are talking about it again. I was like, and because also like the golden age, the production, it was between 16 to 18, and then the production was like, it's totally slow, even though like present days we could still find a contemporary production of the Maiolica, but little known people are known like back in the days it was Castelli is one of the centers production for the Maiolica productions like in Italy, apart from maybe Faenza or Deruta or another city that we know, or maybe Napoli as well. So that's why like this project has come up, and then want to again to try to promote this cultural heritage from the city, and also try to engage with the contemporary audience too, to see like why Castelli is very important. And in the historical evidence also it shows that this is exactly like important for the European ceramics in general also. And this is the latest, like in 2020, because it's also like Castelli itself like very small town, and in 2023 it's only 900 inhabitants, which is kind of like very sad. The town itself, like I could say, could like kind of like a dying, but they are like that's why like the project like really wants to raise again like how we could promote this idea like about the city. Of course, like because Majolica and the ceramics like as the identity of the city. And why it's also like it's very iconic. This is 4 of the characters of the productions. It's Orsini Colonna. It's like as a column, as you see, as a part. That's the first workshop from it's called the workshop Orazei Pompei, because back in the days was Castelli also rules by the Kingdom of Naples. And then Turkine is like the style, because what we can see here actually it's based on design characteristic and colors that they use for the Majolica production. So Turkine is also at the early 16th centuries, like between 1509, where the workshop itself like tried to begin and stuff. They are only focused on the color of blue, which is also influenced by the Turkish also like the ceramics, because we know actually Majolica itself it's not come from Italy, but they are from the Islamic world, like in the Middle East, and then travels to Hispanic to Spain, and then it travels to Italy, end up in Faenza, and then it spread it all around Italy. And then the other main characteristic it's called compendario, and then it slowly this is one of the workshop. It's called a Gru family. They are trying to reduce the colors of the blue, and then more specific like in the ornament, and like more specific designs, like very kind of like delicate style. And then the other ones is Historiato, because also Italy is always known to tell like they are very engaging with the history and stuff, and then how they can try to both like to tell the story like through the objects that they use. So for example, like reference from the Bibles or the paintings or any kind of the ceramics that they are inspired. So this is like mainly like from, so I focus on the 3 workshop family, like it's Pompei, Gru, and Gentili. So this 3 workshop family, that this is their characteristic like from all, and then and now it's become like the identity of the DNA of the Majolica production. So apart from this one, also in the first 2 years, because I started my PhD sadly in the COVID, so I spent most of the times online and stuff. But then luckily, the project, it was part of the European Route of Ceramics, is a certified cultural route from councils of Europe that are focused on also preserve all the European ceramic cities. So now the organizations consists like around 27 cities all around Europe that are very specific and focused on the ceramics productions, and each cities of course represent totally like a different style. And then that's why like this European Route of Ceramics try to engage like to become like a hub, let's say, also like to promote like ceramic is also important and not just like a painting or maybe another stuff. So I spent with the European Route of Ceramics for almost 2 years, and then also with another city, for example, I spent 6 months in Poland. The city was called Bolesławiec. It was also the hub on the centers of the the Poland ceramics productions, and then they're very good in developing best practices like how to promote the ceramics, and then try to absorb from that kind of knowledge, and also like what they do with the city, municipality, cultural heritage, and productions, and then like to promote it also like to another countries and Europe in general. So what I do, what I'm trying to do, and I'm not working also like alone, of course, with the support of the university and also with the municipality of Castelli, and also with the help of the European Route of Ceramics, also like try to work collaboratively, try to engage also like with the cultural side from the Castelli itself, and also with the helps with them, because now, for example, like in Castelli itself, only one ceramics museum, and then it's under construction, and then it has been construction for 7 years, but they are only taking appointment, like if you want to see the collection, and the museum was very, very small, which is kind of sad, like to see it. Yeah, with the helps, like because I saw some of the Castelli collections, they have it in the Museum Ceramic in Faenza, which is the centers of European Route of Ceramics. So with them, like we try to do something like what we can do, like to engage with the digital approach and like anything that with the Castelli. And what I try to do actually, as I said it before, the European Route of Ceramic is a certified cultural routes. So they are trying to engage like from historical part of the historical part of each cities, and then they are taking like the measures, how to say, aside of the ceramics production, engage with that, and then try to bring all together. And what I do is also, what we do is like trying to create a cultural route. So like a thematic one. So it's kind of like extension for Castelli also to be part of the European Route of Ceramics, and also to introduce like what's happened actually like in Castelli, what's left, and then how to give like an itinerary for the people also that who wants to come to Castelli, and then what they want to see, and then how to engage like in the contemporary practice, like where is the artisans workshop, and then if they want to see the school, or they want to see the heritage site, then that's what I'm trying to do, like to cooperate like with this, trying to cooperate with all of this knowledge, and then to create like one portals that are accessible also. And of course, because I was working with digital technology, I would love to engage with that, with the contemporary one, especially ceramics. Everything it's a tangible heritage. Like you can normally, like you can see, you can touch, and then you can see all around of the production. So for me, it was like, okay, maybe we could do something with the 3D models of the ceramics. We don't do all the collections, because what we want to see is just like one of the representative for each workshop. So this is what I try to do, and also try to mapping like all the what you see. For example, like it's a map, kind of like all the heritage site that have a maiolica from Castelli that available like in the cultures. And again, also I was interested also with the meta space, because I'm thinking like, okay, maybe I could do something to reach I mean like young peoples, and like to engage nowadays with the VR also. So I try to create a gallery that could use like this type of technology. And then also I try to collaborate with the Europeana, because they have very huge collection with Castelli also. So I try to work with them, and then to try to create also like a features exhibitions just specific to Castelli. So this is like the best practices that I try to engage with the digital approach, like with the ceramics and with the maiolica. And this is, for example, like the examples, like, you know, where you can see like in the middle was the museums of the ceramics, and then on the right one is one of the church, the main church, like in Castelli, where you can see on the ceilings like the maiolica production. And then I try to mapping also with the help of the municipality, like to how to say it, to create kind of like database, but not a big database, like to list, let's say, like heritage sites that are connected to Mayolika. And then of course, like with the that are workshop that are still available in the city. So this is the main work that I try to do with the project with the ceramic Route of Castelli. The second project, it's very dear to me also. It's LICA. I call it like locating Indonesian Cultural Archive Routes with the same approach as so. And this is everything. It was very literally like related to whole my experience in Europe, like from my diaspora experience, the moments where I try to engage with the idea of place attachment, like where I came from, representing like about my own community, or especially like I come from Sumatra and from Minangkabau cultures, where are oriented by like we are women, we are matriarch, how to say heritage and stuff. So I try to work on that also, and then with the techno anxieties, again, like I like to work with the technology, but sometimes it's just like technology can be stressful too. So I try to, like, especially with the contemporary art, I try to work with the technology, but I want to work something physical too. And I do little work project, for example, like on the top of the work like related to Venice. This is also the one that I try to present in the Biennale this year. Actually, it's a collaborative exhibitions, humanitarian actually. So I was commissioned to produce a work for the postcard for Palestine. So we do collaborative work to sell the artwork, and then for the humanitarian fund. So I try to make like 3 pieces of artwork, and I'm quite happy about it because it's sold out, and then like so that's the fund is good go. This is like for like a little kind of like representative, like what I try to do with my own work. And also the other ones, this is like very recent, also like based on my experience like in the ceramics. I try to engage also like not only research based but also the practice of the ceramics too. I want to, maybe I could make some of my own ceramics as well, so I try to work on that. And this is like a project that I did with Ars Electronica this year. So I work with the geoscientist Stefan Mertz. He is a geoscientist in Vienna. So we work collaborative, try to work like I proposed the idea like, okay, maybe I could work with the ceramic pieces and then try to engage with because also like again like he works with the seismic activity, and then we want to try how we could present like this data visualizations for the artistic experience, let's say. So we sonifications of the data become a sound, and then what I did, because it's also like again with a little bit of, because I come from Sumatra, and then the tsunami things that happened in 2004. So it was kind of like a huge natural disasters also that. And then I told him like, okay, maybe we can work on this kind of idea. And what I tried to do, then I created the ceramics that's kind of like represent of me and something that I've seen it like related to everything that I can imagine, like with my hometown and stuff. So we created 4 pieces of ceramics, and then we do like installation, and then we engage as speakers on it, and so people can see the object and then also can hear it. Also, like, of course, not try to fear the audience or people like to have the experience with the earthquake, but I want to feel that kind of experience too, and perhaps people just could engage with that kind of thing. So I made a terracotta this, and also like the idea behind is also because of seismic activity is on earth, so that's why clay could be the best representation because it's from nature. and also and then I try to make it something like tradition. Also, like this could be, and we call the project it's intertotem. So it totems like something like very cultural and something like that. And the last part is actually this is also before that I spent it in Austria. This is a full 3 months that I spent it in Lisbon. So I was invited by Palacio de Belas Artes. It's a fine art institutions in Lisbon, and then they invited me to do a artistic work collaboration project with them. So we had an idea when I come up with the proposals. I had an idea like, okay, because also Portugal will be my first countries that I never been to Portugal before, so I was thinking like, okay, this could be kind of like reflections on like, okay, will be my first experience to come to Lisbon, and then also I just click and I reminded, I was like, oh yeah, Portugal also come to Indonesia also as the first European countries that tried to conquer Nusantara back then in the day. So like with this kind of narrative that we agree on, and then we work on historical evidence at the same how also, but also try to engage with the institutions that have Indonesian object or Indonesian archive back in the days. So I want to also like try to work on of course like there is a historical approach like into it, but also I want to do like a speculative narrative also, because the things that I try to work with them, and then with the help with the Palacio, and then try to connect with the archive institution and the museums also, sometimes it's not easy. There are some archives that you can access freely, and then they give you a total freedom, like, yeah, you can work with this archive, you can do whatever you want, but there are some institutions that are very restricted with their collection, and they don't want to do interferes like for the new artistic interpretations and engaging with the contemporary art. So yeah, I was lucky to work with the 3 institutions that are agreed to I can do something with this collection. So first it was the natural history museums, and then the second one is Archivio Ultramarino, and then the other one is museums of maritime also. So they agree that we can do something, but also it's not easy to find an evidence also. Like when I arrived in Lisbon, also we try to list the possibility to find kind of like institutions that have like the colonial object, like from the era like 1509 to 1610s, like where the Portuguese in Indonesia. So we try to contact, and then there are some like there is no response, so we cannot reach that. Also because the consideration of time frame of the residency, also like I cannot. Of course, the project could be extends, like even like now we are thinking also to expand the project into something like bigger, but from the limited of times, resources and stuff. So I try to be specific and focus, like what kind of object that could represent like this story, the storytelling narrative that I would like to say, and to engage also with the public also. So we come up with this specific object, and I found these beautiful butterflies. As also this special particularly butterflies, it's from Natuna, which is also marked as the first islands like where Portuguese landed in Nusantara back in the day. So I like the idea, the metaphor of this butterfly is kind of represented only from this island, and the idea of like, okay, butterflies again representing like very short spans of life, and then the story, even the story behind the Portuguese and Indonesian. I talked with the curator there, and they don't really know about this history. The history about Portuguese and the colonial connection with the Portuguese always known, okay, with the Timor-Leste or Brazil in general, and Macau. So that's why I was like, okay, yes, but Portuguese come to Indonesia for almost 100 years too. So, I mean, this is why I want to do like this kind of project. So this kind of like artistic thinking, I try to reimagine again, like what could be the possibilities to say. And then with the ultramarine archive also, of course, I tried to find a map, because again, like interesting to see like a map that they have. And also it could be maybe a postcard or any kind of related object that are connected into it. So this is the project that I try to develop and work. The exhibitions itself will happen in, I finger crossed, like in spring in 2025. So now in the period of me that I'm trying to, based on this evidence that I try to collect, and then to work on it, and then to have a discussion what the potential that could do with the installation side and some stuff. So this is practically like the mind map that I would like to share. So it's just like the invitation from Indonesia, Portugal, the colonial past, what kind of archive memory that about Indonesia, and again like try to engage with the technology also. So with the butterfly, I try to do also like a 3D models of the butterfly itself. But of course, like I'm still thinking like how I could present it into the public, like either maybe just a 3D like a video installation, or like this is of course like everything is sometimes depend on the budget, like like everything is considerations like into it. And then there are two archives that I work with, archive for the natural history, which is the reasons why Portugal come to Indonesia for the spices. So I requested two spices like from the nutmeg and cloves. So like working on that story like behind of it. And also like I did hunting like for the antique store or maybe like antique market that are very regular also like in Lisbon. So I collect like historical postcards that are sometimes like it's quite presents, but the image, for example, like in the first slide that I put it, somehow the memory that are triggering me, for example, is like Portugal was connected to the maritime, so maybe something like related to the ships. And also because of the building itself, also the building of the PDBA, also it was historically actually it was owned by the Spanish also. So for me, it was like this kind of connections, and also like there are so many symbols on the building that are based on the ships. And then for me, it's kind of like, yes, this is the maritime things, and because also they want me to, the connection is not only Indonesia and Portugal, but also the possibility to connect with the building itself. So like this narrative to try to connect with the building, with the country, and then where I come from, and then what the materials that I could find in the museums and institutions. So yeah, practically like that. Mostly the main project that I'm trying to complete, to finish, and that's the time that I want to share with all of you too. So this is the last one. So for me, like kind of like I like it like art. It's an art of translation, transforming it to something that I can feel, questions, and also carry forward. And especially when you work with the technology and archive, also that what can I do with that? And with the use of language of speculations, again, like I'm working with the storytelling. Of course, not always 100% like based on historical evidence, because sometimes like you have to think again, when you engage in the contemporary art, not everything has to be clear. Also, it can leave a question for the audience to the curiosity, or maybe they have their own interpretations also. So I like with that kind of and then imaginations, of course, and renewal, because I'm thinking like, I'm working something with the archive. That's why like this LICA route also was born, because in the sense it's like I've been living here like 9 years, and I was thinking like, not so many Indonesian storytellers that were living in Indonesia, especially like approach like an artistic voice. So that's why I was thinking like, maybe from that project, and then I could lead for another project also. Like I have small projects that are focused, for example, the ceramics collection, the terracotta collection from one small island, for example, like in Indonesia, that are based also like in Europe. So I was trying to combine all of what I had experienced, like working with the ceramics, fashion, technology, craft, and then try to see the possibility where I can fit myself like in this situation, and of course to see the possibility to tell the story also to them. So yeah, like but also of course there is a challenging also like balancing between authenticity and with the interpretation, because sometimes like this is also the problem. So like sometimes like you have to see when you tell a story, of course, like try to see everything's like makes sense and a clear information also. And the second one was like, yeah, this is what I do, interdisciplinary practice, like try to collaboratively work like between academic practice also, and to create like a new story. And then I use technology as collaborators. So yeah, practically that's all my presentation, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love how you ended it with "this is all," and our heads are like, how are you involved in so many projects all at once? Yeah. Do we have questions for Iko? Sure.
Well, I really like how you present the speculative narratives, and I was wondering if you could tell a little bit more about them.
Well, speculative is again like when we talk about like a storytelling, this is always, of course, like a story is not always, of course you can say something exactly what based on the evidence that what you can say, but for me speculative is like I want to leave the room for the people also to think about it. So when you try to tell a story, because also again like I work with the different materials, different object, people might think like, okay, I work with the colonial history, but what is that? What is the connections with the butterfly and something like that. So speculative for me, it was like, okay, this is my visions through the artistic voice. Like when I see a butterfly, I was like, okay, this is a short span of life, and then after they are gone. So for me, a kind of like reinterpretative of this history also, it was gone, and then nobody talk about it. So that could be like a connection, like a link about it. So this is that's why like this word of speculations for me, it's like I just want to leave a space and room also for the people to think about it and to say something about it also, or I hope it could triggers also for people like to discuss about it also. So yeah, this is and of course also there is limitations, or like, because sometimes it was like when you work in the contemporary art, you can say everything, but again like you can present everything too. So the limitations of that is very important as well. Yeah, like the limitation was like, okay, what kind of not only the work itself, and sometimes it was like very either the historical, or maybe the medium, or maybe the practice, or maybe yeah, like something like that. So this is the idea that I'm trying to say, to convey. Yeah.
Yes,
Can I push you a little bit on this speculation? In public history, it's very important, as you do, to make our work accessible. So we very often work with the public in mind. And I would like to ask you about how you speculate about your public. To give you an example, Miriam and I had a project with artists in Esch, and sometimes the artist speculated about what the public will do or think.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be very, very speculative, in the sense that the public may have no idea what the artist had in mind.
Yeah.
Sometimes the artist is fine with that.
Yeah.
You know, think about it. When we collaborate history and art, we like speculation, but we also want the public to engage with some historical narrative. So how do you work with the public in mind? Do you Do you speculate about what the public will understand? Is that something that you care about, or do you have to study the public?
That's something that I really care about too. So for example, like this is the long, so this is why like the project that are ongoing that for the exhibitions like in May. And one thing's like, yeah, because also like for my experience like working with as a curators in contemporary art, and then working now as an artist also, this kind of questions also triggers me too, because sometimes like especially like in Venice Biennale you see a million of artwork, and then sometimes it's like you see like, oh, this work, it's kind of like triggers you, as this work is like sometimes kind of like, oh yeah, this is just that's like, I don't like this artwork, let's say. So the things what I'm doing with my own practice, I think this is the interdisciplinary. Luckily what I do as researchers, it's really helped me to reinterpret what I want to do with my own artistic practice too. So for example, like I understand, for example, like some artists, they don't really work on the historical based evidence. For example, if we see there are so many contemporary artists just like, yeah, I just want to express myself and to work, and then we don't care what people speculate about it. I was like, oh, if they like my work, they like it. If they don't like my work, they like it. But for me, because again, like my background in academic, it's kind of like helped me to narrate like this kind of way of thinking, and then way of producing works also. So yeah, like I care about what people are gonna see and things also, and also to present like something. Sometimes I also like this is again like in artistic practice, like I think the audience, like how they gonna see my artwork and how they gonna understand my artwork. Is that it's too abstract or it's too constructive? So I think about that also all the time, and then how much also, like this is kind of the battles also, because again like like working in in contemporary art especially, like and also I was talking constantly with the curators also, and because there are some information that cannot be said, or maybe there are some restrictions of the object itself. So yeah, this is the process that are always evolve, like with me, and for example with the curators and the institutions that gonna hold the exhibition, for example. So yeah, I think a lot about that all the time. Yeah.
If I can tag on to that, because we had lunch together today, and you were saying that also you want to inspire people in Indonesia and in doing more contemporary art and to involve. But and then I was wondering, like, who is your public? Because if you make contemporary art, it's a specific public that comes to a contemporary art gallery. So how do you see yourself moving that, or do you have plans on making contemporary art more accessible?
I think, I mean, for my experience now, I work with the institution, and there are some part, for example, like with the Biennale work, for example, like with architectures, the theme, for example, like based on the curator's work, and then that's how I try to adjust this curatorial theme with my own work. So in terms of public, I see that also kind of like opportunity also, because to say that who am I as a person, and then like to reach as many as possible people also. And that's why like work not only like I try to engage with for example like with the art biennale, but also with the architectures biennale, and also for example like with Ars Electronica, which is new media festival. Like people are always talking about technology, but they don't care like about something like related to history, for example. So I try to give this little touch of me, let's say, and then when I try to engage with either festival, the narration is always like come from that. So of course, like people that who work with the people that who come to Ars Electronica, for example. I just want to say like, okay, there is another part that can be engaged with the technology also. For example, like through historical research that can be perhaps also like inspire them to explore like around that topic also. But for example, like with the Biennale architectures, of course, everything was talking about the architectures, but there is part of me that I want to say also like about that. So I try to engage as, of course, as many. Also, it's also sometimes it's along the way with the opportunity too. Like I must say about that. Yeah, when you have a chat with when you have the opportunity to work with them, then yeah, then I'm thinking about like what can I produce like with this frame of the exhibition. So, yeah.
More questions? May I? Okay. Eiko, I think your presentation were about making connections.
Yeah.
How the two projects are connected in your artistic practice. How, for example, we can make connections to make ceramics, which were from the private domain to the public domain as a cultural heritage, as part of a collection. And making connections, I think sometimes are like uncomfortable and hard to make. And my question is about it, because you're talking about colonial history, and it's interesting because as I told you, when you told me the first time about Indonesia and Portugal, I was like a kind of surprise, because as you said, usually we just have this relation between Brazil and Angola, Mozambique, and Indonesia, just more or less. And but my point is making these connections in museums, especially in Portugal. You as an artist, as a curator, what kind of barriers you're like facing? Especially because we are talking about, when you talk about colonial history, we're talking about invasion. There's no other way to say the Portuguese presence in other territories. So how do you face this part of the story, which is about violence, invasion, and...
Yeah, actually, when one of the presentations, like this is exactly one of the exhibition that I was visiting, like from the art Asians museums in Lisbon, which is interesting. Like there is the curatorial text there that are talking about. This is like when I had a discussion also like with the curators when they talk about the presence of the Portuguese in Asia. They don't talk about colonial. They
Presence.
yeah.
They visited.
They even like in the curatorial text it says globalization. True. It says globalization. This is things that like triggers me also. Like I was like, okay, look, but what is this? Like, and then of course like we try to contact with the museums, with the Asian museums there, and then try to justify kind of like what is this, you know? And then especially like globalization, like excuse me, no other like it's very specific like about colony and something like that, not at all. So yeah, like the conversations also, for example, like with the natural history museums also, the curators was very engaging and very nice also, with of course with the help of the curators of the PDBA, with the curators of the collections of the natural history. Yeah, like apart from the exhibition itself, they want to hear also like what my point of view, like why I want to do this research and I want to engage with the collections, even though I'm not historian specifically for the Portugal and Indonesia, but then I try to engage with them, and I was like, listen, like why the reasons like why I want to work in these collections is about this. It's people need to hear about that, and audience need to know, like it's also Indonesia this matters also. So this is right the conversation that of course it's not easy to do, because sometimes with the other residencies, for example, it's art organizations that are happening in Lisbon also. Sometimes they don't know about this history, then you have to explain again and then to say. And of course, sometimes I imagined it's not easy work, I know, especially to make people understand, like, you know, but I'm just trying to engage, like, okay, what's my part that I could do, that I could trigger audience, curator, artists, and another cultural practitioners about this topic also. And yeah, the limitations is always there, but yeah, that's I try to just say it. Yeah. So
Can I? Okay, can I?
Yes.
You might have the last question. You're an artist. I'm so glad you're here. There's something that us artists face when we go into academia, and that's very difficult to defend the whole time, which is your me, the presence of you, your experience, what you want to say, what you feel in the work that you present, because there is a general understanding that when you're presenting academic work and research, it has to be someone else, neutral, non-existent. And then when you bring your story into it, or your past into it, or your memories into it, it starts getting into touchy subjects where you're like, every time you have to defend, why is it that you bring the me, either in your writing, if you're an academic and you're writing, you're like, why are you saying me the whole time? Why do you exist in this? Or if you're bringing it in the presentation of your work, in an artistic presentation of your work, that is based on historical facts, but there's your
interpretation,
what you've lived in it. How do you navigate this between being an artist who's had a practice before going into the game of academia? How do you keep this me in your research?
That's a good question. Actually, for example, like this is why I want to present, for example, like today's presentation, the things that I do with my PhD research, with the ceramics one. I love the ceramics and I love decorative art in general. But to be honest, for example, like, and then I have another side of work that always like represented, like with the LICA Routes and stuff, like with that. For example, like with my PhD work, I work that as a job, as like I treat that as a job, as a work that I have to do. Of course, like I try to engage myself like into it, but also again, like when we talk about academia, like there are some, you know, like restrictions or maybe structures that you need to follow and some stuff like that, which is I'm kind of fine about that also. But the other part, like that's why also I try to work hard also on my own artistic practice. Also I try to, again, like I know this kind of boundaries that I could not cross, or maybe like that I have to follow. Then sometimes like some part of me, like I want to scream too, like I want to express what I want to think about it. But it's mostly both are like connected but interconnected too also at the same times. So it's like maybe when people see like I'm totally two different mindset, like what I do in academia and what I do as an artist to develop the work, but it's just also but also again, like what I do in artistic practice, it's what I did in academia is influenced too, because the structures of the thinking, like, oh, why, how, like this kind of thought also, that's helped me to define my artistic practice also. Like it's I'm quite happy, for example, like within these 3 months I can define what kind of object, materials, and this is kind of things that maybe if you are not in academia you might not think about, because it's a scientific thinking, so you have to think something else. But then with the research, artistic research, And then when you are thinking like when I create a main map like that, it's just like, okay, this is that, if this thing doesn't work, what kind of institution? This institution work, what do they have? And then like, it's the fast decisions that I could define or I could make like in that kind of project, that's really helped me. That's why like when you see like I've done a lot of things, but actually in some way it's not a lot of things. It's the scientific thinking that I do in academia. It's really helped me to decide. I was like, oh, I want this object, I want this archive, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. Okay, I just put the limitation on this, then I create the storytelling. So that's kind of way of thinking that I try to balance too. And also like in academia, it helps too, because for example, like, because you think like totally different things all the way, and then when you apply to academia, you're thinking also like, okay, maybe this restriction, but like maybe we can engage like something like this, and then we can engage like with another practice, we can engage with another practice, then you frame it in a scientific way. So that's try to combine like both ways.
Thank you.
Yeah.
More questions?
I think not. Okay.
Online? No?
So I'm gonna thank Iko one more time for giving us this beautiful, very engaging lecture. We have so many ideas now to discuss with you, maybe on your project, maybe on ours. Iko's staying with us until Friday. If you want to reach out, I think we can circulate his email and contacts for you guys, or you could just stay for 5 minutes and talk to him to try and see when you could meet up. Thank you all for attending yet another lecture. Next month, we're gonna have Nayansaku Mufankolo between December 16 until the 21st. So we're gonna send you details on that to come. And that is it. I think we could close. Thank you.
Thank you.